Hello everyone, welcome to the Microsoft Cloud Summit. My name is Prashant Singh and I'm going to talk about how Microsoft 365 security solutions help better secure modern digital workspace. I would like to start by saying that while organizations have embraced digital transformation, the approach to security hasn't caught up with the same pace. Let's understand why. The traditional security approach was designed based on the thought process that users, device, apps and data are within the premises and we need to be able to build walls around the enterprise to block the attackers. However, the current reality is that your applications are accessed by employees, contractors, partners, and even consumers. Bringing your own device is popular. We need to be able to facilitate work from anywhere, and this need is even more greater in the current times. The cloud app adoption has really increased, and the enterprise perimeter has expanded beyond the corporate firewall. Now, this is how an evolved modern digital workplace looks like. Employees have 24/7 access, any place, any device, any location, to the application and services. And hence, your cybersecurity strategy also has to solve for this work culture. Now, what are the key challenges and strategic opportunities? We understand that identity is now the biggest parameter in the modern digital workspace. The attacks around the identity have really increased. Email phish remains the number one approach for credential thefts. And the attackers are really after privileged accounts, so they can take enterprise or the cloud services under control and gain long-term persistence. This means we need to adopt very strong identity-based protection strategy. Now, attacks have also evolved in terms of complexity. And a lot of the modern attacks doesn't necessarily mean that there's a malware involved. At times, it becomes very difficult to differentiate between a normal user or an admin activity versus an attacker activity. I mean, the rise of polymorphic malware means that the traditional antivirus, which is based on signature-based protection, will be able to handle the latest and the variety of threats which have evolved. So this means the reliance on cloud for more signature-less protection is needed. What this also means that we should be able to detect attacks faster and be able to automate responses in a manner that it augments the security analyst to help resolve problems faster. Now, remote working is also the new normal. COVID has brought an unexpected IT and security challenges. The rise in the number of app requests to be worked remotely has increased. VPN was never designed for 100% scalability. The number of COVID-based campaigns and the number of attacks in the current times have really increased multifold worldwide. How to onboard new existing or personal-based devices to sustain remote work? How to roll out security controls which were designed for an agent-based or on-premise based security strategy? How to support this entire transition? What this means is we have to adopt a security strategy which brings in agility to address the new risks which have come up with the remote way of working. Information is the key target, and the information is already out of the enterprise, whether it's spread out across endpoints, devices, cloud services, in the hands of your customers, partners, and consumers. This means the way traditional DLP was designed may no longer help to protect the information where exactly it is. This means the information protection strategy has to be basis where the information flows. Last but not the least, the number of security solutions which the enterprises are dealing is enormous. Today, the problem or the complexity challenge is not the solution itself. The solution may be great in its own terms, but the skill set, the number of agents, The compatibility testing, number of consoles, the average security analyst has to manage and see and correlate, means that lot of threats, attacker tactics may go unnoticed. And where would the skill to correlate all of this to really understand whether I'm dealing with a problem or something I can ignore? All of these challenges means that the tools which you deploy should be more integrated, simpler to manage, so that your reduced skill set can be used to manage all of these complexities. What does this mean? Where exactly Microsoft is going? We intend to reduce the number of vendors and the number of agents with the platform-based approach, so that compatibility testing, performance issues can also be addressed at the same time. Rather than siloed, can we bring in an integrated security approach? How, how we can address the shortage of skills by reducing the number of console and bringing in more intelligent security with the power of automation to reduce the burden on the IT and security analyst. This brings the discussions to the larger Microsoft 365 security solutions, where there are four key pillars. The identity and access management brings in the concept of zero trust, single sign-on, identity lifecycle management, and passwordless authentication experiences to the table. The threat protection solutions focus on protecting against modern-day threats. The compliance solutions focus on information protection compliance objectives, and security management, how to manage it all in a more simplified fashion and strengthen the security posture. And to sum it all, in the bottom there is Azure Sentinel, which is the Microsoft Cloud SIEM, which integrates with Microsoft and non-Microsoft security solutions and provides an aggregated view to manage modern day threats and visibility and auditing. Let's start with the identity pillar. Now, what are we trying to address here? With the era of digital transformation, the number of apps across on-premise and cloud have increased. This means through the identity consolidation, we can bring in better visibility, access control mechanisms for the various access requirements which are coming from endpoints, users, employees, customers, partners. This means there is a stronger need to consolidate the entire identity experience across a single control plane by bringing a strong IDAM solution in place, and that's where Azure Active Directory comes in place. How do we achieve that? Now, Azure AD can be integrated with the various cloud applications, your on-premise and web applications, the Active Directory, your HRMS systems, and then through this entire gatekeeper experience, the access requirements for user, customers, and partners can be facilitated. What are the advantages we bring to the table? Single sign-on experience for cloud and on-premise application. Individual app access needs for user, customers, partners can be addressed through the strong policy management, self-service password reset, and how to bring in secure app access without having dependency on the VPN. That brings into the larger discussion of the zero trust model through Azure AD conditional access. The user is trying to access the various app ecosystem which the enterprise has created, which is a combination of Microsoft Cloud apps, third-party cloud apps, and the on-premise applications. Now, Azure AD conditional access brings the element of asking and questioning various conditions which can be created through the policies around the various app access needs. From a user perspective, whether it's an employee or a partner, whether it's a user or an admin. From an endpoint perspective, whether it's a corporate managed endpoint or a personal endpoint, is it the device compliant or risky? Now the manageability and the compliance aspects can be addressed through Microsoft Intune, which is an agentless cloud-based management device management technology to help given the visibility to Azure Active Directory that the device is corporate managed. That's the first objective. Secondly, Microsoft Defender ATP, which is an agent experience on Windows 10, can bring in the risk element of the device. Whether if the device is risky, can we bring in that element of risk from a decision making perspective for app access needs? From a location perspective, it is a corporate managed location or internet. From client perspective, it's a client or a browser. What authentication mechanism? What is the target service you're accessing? And across all of these conditions, when we can bring in various elements, permutation combinations, in terms of policy management to really nail down like whether it's the right employee accessing the right kind of service. That's a fundamental objective which we're trying to address in the Zero Trust. And what are the outcomes we can define? We can allow a block access, basic a specific need. We can request for multi-factor authentication, okay, basis the risk level. We can force password reset or even block authentication, which is a legacy, which is not modern. And there is also limited access experience, which is facilitated by Microsoft Cloud App Security, which is a CASB solution. So, which is more targeted towards unmanaged device access requirement. So, if in case a request comes from a unmanaged device or a non-corporate device to the app access, and while the employee is still, it's a trusted employee, can we bring in the element of multi-factor authentication and subsequently limit the access experience in terms of a view only because the device is not managed? It can be a strong objective. And also, we can also let the employee, in a view only fashion, what will also happen is that nothing can be downloaded while the user, the employee accesses the application. Or if in case you allowed the application access to download, then the download document should be encrypted so that the risk can be mitigated for any other individual being able to access the particular document and compromise it. So all of these things are facilitated. Now all of these capabilities are defining the risk condition which are static in nature, which are defined by us, by the security analyst and an IT admin. So these are static risk conditions. We can also bring in the dynamic risk conditions through the inclusion of identity protection, again from Azure AD. Identity protection is a combination of UEBA, machine learning, and dynamic risk evaluation. Now this is tapping on the larger Microsoft threat intelligence to dynamically decide whether a particular user or session is currently under a high, medium, or low risk. Now this was a risk you didn't plan for through static conditions, but that risk may very well be present when the app access is currently being questioned by the Azure AD. Questions like whether the user credentials are leaked, because the solution can connect to dark web intelligence and it has a reference of the user compromised database, and it can refer to that to address particular understanding. Is there any unfamiliarity in terms of the app experience which it is noticing basis the past behavior in terms of the location, the device, app, all of these elements combined together to reflect the familiar aspects of the way user access the apps, and whenever there is unfamiliarity in that, then define a level of risk here as well. Atypical or impossible travel, simultaneous request across two different destinations. Unusual pattern of activity coming from the IP address. Malware link IP address or anonymous IP, or IP related to malicious activities. The same IP, if it has launched any kind of malicious activities across the entire Microsoft ecosystem, we can infer to that and understand whether that particular IP address is malicious or not. So all of these things creates a very versatile and dynamic risk evaluation, combination of static and dynamic. Added to that, you can bring in the element of privileged identity and access management, password-like experience to access apps, and the entire auditability, thus making a very strong zero trust experience. The benefits of zero trust experience from Microsoft, which is based on Azure AD, it's identity focused, which will strongly resonate in the new perimeter, which is basis the transformed digital workspace, because the entire network is not managed by you, and there are devices which are managed and unmanaged. Agent-like experience, if you are using Windows 10, though the entire experience can be supported through multi-platform client base, but definitely if you're using Windows 10, this entire experience is agentless. How we are ensuring balancing user experience and security. At the end of the day, the user is just experiencing app and they get prompted for MFA or any self-service mechanisms, but they don't notice the underlying way the entire layered logic is developed to just facilitate the user experience, and they just simply experience the app, while the zero trust solves for the security aspects. The solution is cloud heavy. This means very low dependency on infrastructure and any kind of change management heavy lifting. This brings us to the end of discussion for identity and access management pillar, where zero trust was the strongest foundation. Let's move on to the Microsoft threat protection solutions, protecting against modern day threats. Now we've mapped here Microsoft solution across the attack kill chain and how they address your day-to-day needs of protection as the attack progresses across every stage, from starting point to the end towards the organization compromise. Attack typically starts with email because it's 90% of the attack surface, and here Office 365 is also the place where the collaboration happens. As the attack progresses further and establishes its foothold on the infrastructure in terms of endpoints and servers, and the attacker will eventually need some kind of identity to proliferate further into the enterprise. So definitely at this stage, identity is under question. And using the identity, attacker can further progress towards its last mile destination, where it's the Active Directory domain under question and which can be compromised. Or the attacker can rapidly move towards compromising cloud services and gain access to data and do malicious activities of data exfiltration. Let's understand how Microsoft solutions are addressing these various needs. At the Office 365 layer, where the email is also there, we have multi-pronged solution approach from a defense perspective: detect and remediate and response and user education. So Office 365 ATP provides zero-day threat protection in terms of URL protection, URL review, attachment sandbox detonation on email, and document detonation in terms of SharePoint, OneDrive, and Teams. It can also do URL detonation on Office documents, even though the Office documents may be coming from the personal means like Gmail, G Drive, Outlook. But as long as they are opened on corporate laptop or corporate managed mobile devices, the Office 365 ATP can integrate with Office applications and provide URL protection within for URLs being clicked within the documents. Apart from this, and advanced anti-phishing protection in terms of user and domain impersonation, brand impersonation, all of these capabilities are available. So all of these are defensive layers. Let's talk about post-breach recovery and response. The reality is, at some point of time, certain emails may inflow through, or an email threat can be weaponized post-delivery, or a user may be giving their IT or security that, okay, hey, this particular mail has got missed. So what you're looking at a mass campaign which has got missed, and you need to clean up the environment and assess the spread of the campaign. That's where Office 365 ATP also provides you rapid response search engine to assess the spread of an email attack. Okay, and then using the inbuilt methodology to perform mass cleanups. It can be done manually, or it also has an automated AI response mechanism which can automatically address and assess the spread of a campaign using various metadata and give an admin a methodology of remediating that threat as well. Apart from that, Office 365 ATP can also be used for attack simulations in terms of phishing campaigns, custom phishing campaigns, password spray, brute force. All of these simulations can help assess the susceptibility of user towards an attack, and then it can be used to target readiness exercises for the enterprise at a per user or a per group or per department level. As we move on to the endpoints, we have Defender ATP. Defender ATP is agent-like security on Windows 10, while it supports Windows 7, Mac, Windows Server, all of these platforms, and the Linux is currently under preview, and we definitely are coming with the mobile threat defense as well by this year end. Defender ATP is a comprehensive security for endpoint. It is a combination of next generation protection, which is definitely using signature and signatureless protection. It has host intrusion prevention systems. There is EDR sensors built in at the part of the software layer in Windows 10, providing strong visibility on the malicious activities. It also has automated investigation response mechanism to let the AI automatically understand the dependency the malware has created on the endpoint and help eliminate that automatically in terms of semi-automated or automated approval mechanism. It can assess, it has also threat and vulnerability management, which is again an agentless experience, specifically on Windows 10, which it can do real-time assessment of vulnerabilities, the risk exposure, security misconfiguration, and give a workflow way to patch the systems through workflow integration with Intune or SCCM. It also has Microsoft human expertise through the managed hurting experience, where our 24/7 our experts will monitor your environment and surface alerts to your SOC team, and you can also reach out to an analyst to support if in case the need is required. At the third layer, when the identity under question, we already discussed the Zero Trust Foundation, which is established by Azure AD IDAM and identity protection. As the attack progresses towards Active Directory, we have Azure ATP, which is bringing the strong UEBA methodology to understand the day-to-day employee login patterns towards the Active Directory. And it marries the information knowledge of complex attack methodologies to understand whether, up till now the employee has been behaving normally, but suddenly there is a change in behavior from the past when they're accessing Active Directory in terms of login experiences, and suddenly there are a lot of suspicious activities which are happening. Now it marries the data with the knowledge of advanced attacks and then starts flagging that the current user is under risk based on the various lateral movement exercise which the user is doing. And it provides also a methodology how to remediate that particular threat. Now Azure ATP represents the complexity of also the stage of the attack, which is the last mile layer before the attacker finally reaches its destination, which is the Active Directory, and which can lead to a complete compromise of the enterprise. If the attacker would move to the cloud, we have Microsoft Cloud App Security, which is a CASB solution, which is working in a similar way to detect anomalous behavior in the cloud by user and admins, their various activities, the login patterns, the past behavior, and using the data to flag any user which is at risk, and we can also enable associated governance actions. Interestingly, all of these solutions, whether it's email or an endpoint or identity or a CASB, all of these are also Gartner Magic Quadrant leaders. This means that all of these solutions from Microsoft are best of breed. Azure ATP doesn't have a category today with Gartner. It is a solution which is quite unique in the way it protects Active Directory. Let's look at the kill chain again. Now, the kill chain doesn't necessarily mean that all of these attack patterns are happening in a linear fashion. The modern attack kill chain is evolved. The attacks can progress at any stage, and you may detect the attacks at any stage. It doesn't have to be linear. This means the security solutions which you are working, if they're not talking to each other all at these various vectors, this means that you will have visibility loss, and your ability to correlate and understand why exactly the attack pattern is at this stage Like, if I'm looking at an endpoint attack, it came through email. Okay, where exactly it's going? Or if I detected a domain compromise, where exactly it came from? All of these things means that we have to work on a more integrated solution rather than looking at individual silos of security solution. That's why Microsoft Threat Protection is the new breed of solutions which is integrating all of our previous solutions together, which we just discussed, into a single manageability around config management, hunting, investigations, and correlations, and powered by Microsoft Threat Intelligence together. What it brings to the table is a unified threat management experience where we'll map the various attacks acting on various vectors across the Mitra kill chain. We'll create a timeline of the story of how the attack has evolved across the various vectors, all the various elements evolved, whether it's devices, user, mailbox, various elements of the infrastructure, giving a unified investigation experience. This also means the automation, which currently acts individually, will also evolve to address the broader needs. So the automation of Microsoft Threat Protection can try to understand the attack from various aspects. It can question, which emails are compromised, what is the overall scope of the attack, are there any user clicks, which may lead to user getting compromised. I'm seeing any suspicious activities on the user level, any attacks on Azure AD, any suspicious activity at the CASB level, any email forwarding or suspicious email patterns, any data exfiltration attempts on the user level, or am I looking at any malware download to the endpoint? Okay, can I ask my the endpoint security, which is Defender ATP, to start investigating the particular malicious item which was downloaded in the endpoint? What this means is that the entire automatic investigation can really question every element of Microsoft security stack, which covers various vectors, to unearth the overall investigation scope. And then from a cleanup perspective, we have to eliminate it can give recommendations or can do automated ways to clean up as well, in terms of cleaning emails, remediating users, remove persistency, cleanup of endpoints. So all of these solutions will work together, and automated playbooks are already available as part of the Microsoft Threat Protection stack today. With this, we move on to the third pillar, which is the compliance solutions of Microsoft focused on information protection and compliance. Let's jump into it. Now, what are we solving for through the compliance? We are solving for the data explosion. The data is lying everywhere. We are adding more and more data, generating more and data. We need to understand what kind of data we are dealing with to be able to decide what data we need to protect and what data we need to retain. So all of these problems are there. And then there is the complexity of regulations. There's so many regulations in place. These controls keep on evolving. How to keep up with that? How to assess as per the controls of a particular regulation or a need? How my infrastructure or services are catering to that? Are they complying? How to assess that? All of these are complex objectives. That brings us to the overall element of the Microsoft compliance and risk management solutions. They are broken into 4 different categories. Information protection and governance focuses on understanding data and being able to decide basis that how to protect and how to retain it or how to delete it. Internal risk management focuses on the larger figuring out the larger objective of intentional and unintentional data leakage. Discover and respond focuses on advanced method of discovering data for legal discovery. And compliance management is to help simplify and automate risk assessments. Let's jump into some of these solutions, starting with compliance management. Introducing Microsoft Compliance Core. Microsoft Compliance Core is connected to Microsoft Cloud services like Office 365, Azure, and Dynamics. It will help assess the current status of your compliance by giving you details of various controls which are available as part of various different compliance and regulation needs, like ISO 27001 or GDPR, if those are your objective, and many such different regulations. What it does, it will give you an information of that because you're storing data with Microsoft, the current compliance responsibility is divided between Microsoft and organization. Say for example, from infrastructure protection, perspective, DDoS protection, all of those responsibilities are with Microsoft. But in terms of defining what data to retain, what data to protect, is a customer responsibility. Now, compliance code breaks all of these responsibility into different controls and objectives, and gives you a scoring mechanism and a detail of what all these controls are, what is being already being managed by Microsoft, and hey customer, what is in your responsibility to address, and also the methodology to address. All of these things help you dynamically assess your current state of compliance. It can also capture various evidences and the efforts you are taking across various compliance controls, and which can be shown to the auditor in a single place. What this also means is that as you move your data to the Microsoft Cloud, your ability to really address the compliance scenario becomes more easy. Moving on to the second pillar, which is information protection governance. The focus is on know your data, protect your data, and govern your data. So unless we don't know what data we are dealing with, we cannot decide the bottom below objectives, right? That brings in the capability of Microsoft Information Protection Data Classification Service, which helps detect, classify the data, label the data, protect the data, and monitor it across various data creation consumption experiences for device, cloud, and on-premise. Let's look at how these solutions work in action. As a user, you create document data on PC, Mac, mobile, or PC or desktop to simplify, or the data is stored in on-premise file repository including SharePoint servers, or data is stored on the cloud services. We have multi-pronged solutions which help understand and address the need of data classification across these various mediums of data consumption and creation. Once these solutions of Microsoft act across these information depositories, what you have is a document which is classified and labeled, and with a certain specific classification, and the document is also encrypted with user right protection. What this means is, when all of these things are implemented on the particular document, then as this document is shared internally and externally, doesn't matter. The document will always be read or accessed by the person who the document was intended to, and this is the data protection on the move. And and using all of these mediums, you also get the centralized visibility of your data spread as well. Data governance is the second objective, and it is also focused with some of the data privacy regulations that you should be retaining the data which is for your business need and eliminating data which is not for business need. Another objective of data governance is, because the data explosion, we need to be able to define what to retain and what to delete to contain. Because the more and more data we are sitting on, will the complexity of managing the data will be ever increasing, and that's why the data classification approach with Microsoft Data Governance solution also help address the need of reclassifying the data with the intent of deciding that if the data is of a particular classification, then that particular data will retain for a certain number of years, and after that, through a workflow, the retention can be extended or the data can be deleted as well. So all of those solution elements can be brought in through Microsoft Data Governance. Let's move on to the inside risk management solutions. Now, inside risk management can have multiple objectives. As compared to a DLP, which is a point solution addressing a point data exfiltration need, inside risk management looks at the heterogeneous environment where it can connect to and take signals from multiple solutions, marry those signals together with the AI and ML, look at historic patterns, look at organization triggers, to give a context that what I'm dealing with currently, is it an intentional or unintentional insider risk which I'm dealing with. So let's look at the solution in action. The solution, this is the console of insider risk management, and let's look at some of the events it is tracking. This is a particular user. It is tracking the user resignation date and associated activities like file printing operations and any sensitive data being printed, any file copy operations from the endpoint, any file download operations from the cloud services. Now, all of these situations in isolation um, may not reflect insider risk, but if we together, along with some of the historical patterns, amalgamate all of these insights, it becomes a classic example of how an insider risk management should be looked at. The solution can maintain an employee risk score basis the past patterns of various activities which they have been doing, any cases which have been escalated, the intensity of the operation and the activities which was done during that period of time, and it can also keep the anonymity of the employee till a certain level in the organization when this particular view is opened. All of these aspects can be managed in the solution. So that was insider risk management solution from Microsoft. A very small brief overview. Communication compliance is yet another solution from Microsoft. It focuses on ensuring ethical practices of communication within the enterprise. It can be over email, over Teams, and it can also connect to some of third-party, communication applications like Bloomberg for for the trading activities and all of those things. That application is used. So basically, it has a number of connectors and connect to various Microsoft and third-party solutions to just target one thing, that communications happen in an ethical way, and it uses some of the more advanced data classifiers which are available, which Microsoft has recently launched, which is called trainable classifier. These are machine learning classifiers which are built in and which can be further evolved and trained basis your organization data set. Things like detecting offensive language, resume exchanges, source code detection, harassment, profanity, threat are some of the classifiers which are built in, and you can create and train your own custom classifiers through the solution as well from a detection perspective. Now look at the discover and respond. Now discovery and respond relates to the larger e-discovery needs which are related to the electronic means of handling legal investigation, where the objective is how to reduce the number of documents which are part of a particular legal case. How we can reduce, because we can't investigate the investigators, they can't investigate every document out there which is related to the case. So the solution has to be intelligent, should reduce the data set which the legal investigators have to deal with. Secondly, it should be able to train itself to understand what exactly data set is more relevant to the particular case. Okay, what is the custodian management aspects of the entire data sets we are dealing with? Who is the custodian? All of this means that unlike a traditional e-discovery solution which just results, this solution is more catered to help facilitate electronic means of managing legal discovery cases. This solution is also available from Microsoft. With this, this was a quick summary of the various compliance and risk management solution from Microsoft. Let's move to the last pillar, which is security management. Now, security management focuses on how Microsoft is simplifying the various security solutions in terms of manageability. First thing is, we are unifying various security centers into one. Excuse me. We are unifying various security solutions into three common consoles: for threat management, which is Security Center; for compliance and information protection, Compliance Center; for device manageability, it's Endpoint, Microsoft Endpoint Manager. The idea is that all of the various solutions which we have discussed up till now All of them can be consolidated into these 3 workspaces, bringing in much richer investigative correlation, visibility, monitoring, reporting, all of those aspects, and including configuration management. So this is where we are going today. These solutions are, these consoles are available today, and more richer experiences through existing solutions are getting added to them. Cyber hygiene can be a complex charter because we are dealing with a lot of solutions, and the number of solutions we have discussed up till now. How to ensure we are we are appropriately using all the controls and the best practices which are needed can be a very big challenge. And that's why we have the new Microsoft Secure Score, which we have consolidated the cyber hygiene management across the various best practices and control requirement of various Microsoft solutions which are showed on the top, and all of them can be converted into a secure score mechanisms in which we have done gamification. We'll provide you historical score changes. What are the various recommendations which you have to do across these various solutions to implement the best practices, the methodologies to achieve it, and how the approach when you take, you can see the improvement over a period of time. With this, we have really unified the entire cyber hygiene approach towards the entirety of Microsoft solution sets across identity, devices, and infrastructure and data. From a device manageability perspective, we today have multiple solutions. Intune brings in the cloud manageability, mobile device management, PC management, all of these capabilities. The SCCM configuration management is an on-premise traditional approach to device manageability, patch management, and configuration management. And we have other solutions for desktop analytics, autopilot. We are bringing all of these solutions into an integrated space through the Microsoft Endpoint Manager, thus unifying all of these device management experiences through unified endpoint management. So that is also coming up. All of this brings us to the end of this entire discussions of Microsoft 365 solutions spread across identity, threat, compliance, and security management. Thank you for listening. Before we move on to the Q&A, I would like to sincerely thank you for investing your time with us, and we hope we were able to provide clarity on how Microsoft can better secure your modern digital workspace. Thank you.